It's expected that in a few weeks we're going to get more information about the Death Race set, for the first time since 2023. The Death Race set was teased at Gen Con 2023, centered around a race spanning multiple planes that takes advantage of the Omen Pass connecting the multiverse. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be an actual organized race, or if it's more like multiple groups just trying to be the first to reach a MacGuffin. What we have been told is that the set will span 3 primary planes, 2 which were debuted in premiere sets, but never since revisited, and the other being featured on cards before, but never been featured as the primary plane for a set. Assuming this information hasn't changed over the past year of development, this gives us a good idea of what might be coming. I want to start with the plane that's never been the main focus of a set. My first thought is Vryn. Now, Vryn was featured in a main set, but not heavily. The set Magic Origins spans 11 planes, I think it is. It's not really the focus of a set, so I think it counts, but you could debate that it really shouldn't. Vryn is Jace's home plane, and Jace has been present in the background of every standard set this year. Even if they didn't tell us that it was going to be a set that we'd never actually been to before, Vryn is so overdue, considering how pivotal Jace is to the story, and that we've basically never been there. There's no real indication that he'd need to return to Vryn, but it fits the criteria and would be a great excuse to finally visit a plane that has been so little explored despite its connection to one of Magic's most important characters. For the other two, there are a lot of options. Kaldheim, Strixhaven, and New Capenna seem like they have potential, but all still feel a little too new. It's been a few years, it's not unreasonable, especially considering the amount of time between Throne of Eldraine and Wilds of Eldraine, but I'm hesitant. That said, Kaldheim is the home plane of Tyvar, who's been really present in the Magic story lately, so for the same reason that Vryn might show up, Kaldheim might as well. Also, just as a death race, the aesthetic of giant Nordic battle wagon does seem really appropriate. Strixhaven, on the other hand, was mentioned as Tyvar and Nico's next stop at the end of the Duskmourn story. So that might literally just be saying, we're going to go to Strixhaven and that's where the next set's going to take place. Maybe, it's possible. New Capenna, on the other hand, I think that there's just potential for cars that feel appropriate to a death race aesthetic, but that's it. There's no reason to go back there yet. It's too soon. But for my money, it's none of these planes. Instead, I think that we're going to have a long overdue return to older planes. First, Kylum. Kylum is where Valor's Reach is, the setting of Battlebond. There's so much love for this plane, despite how we've never returned. And the focus on an organized sport, if they go that direction, is a perfect fit for Kylum's arena, combat, death pit fighting aesthetic. The other plane on my radar is Ikoria. It's only a year older than Kaldheim and Strixhaven, but that still gives it a little bit more space to breathe from the original set, and I think it just makes a really good backdrop for a race. This is the plane that we're going through, not where we're starting or ending in my mind. As a really cool, dangerous world that's not really full of a lot of stuff from a narrative standpoint, but stuff from a experiential standpoint, I think it fits that bill really, really well. But more importantly, the original Ikoria had a cycling theme, and it is so very Wizards design philosophy to make a faction of motorcyclists with cycling. Calling that now. There is going to be a motorcycle faction that has cycling matters, and this is why we're going to Ikoria, to bring that all together. That's what I'm going with. It's exactly the kind of joke that Wizards would make, and it wouldn't even be the first time. So those are my top 3 picks, being that we start in Kylum, we go through Ikoria, and we end in Vryn, where Jace needs to get something important. Now, why does Jace not just go there? He's a planeswalker? I don't know, but that's my theory. Maybe Jace is there and we end up meeting up with him. I don't know. That said, I do want to pitch another option instead of Vryn, Xerix. This plane we know very little about. It basically only showed up on a plane and then a few cards from March of the Machine. There are so many planes that have only existed in Plane Chase or in March of the Machines, and so it might not be obvious why it stands out among the mass of those. There are so many that it's just like, we could go there, but why would we? Xerix stands out because after the release of March of the Machine, Mark Rosewater, the design lead for the new set, ran a poll on his Tumblr asking what sets from March of the Machine battles would be worth returning to in the future. Xerix was not only on that list, meaning he is considering it, but also won. Also, just from an aesthetic standpoint, Xerix is a great pick for a weird race. It's kind of like MC Escher World is how people have described it to me in the past, and that's going to be some weird geometry to race over. You can have a lot of fun with that from a design standpoint. So those are my top picks for the 3 planes that we're visiting in Death Race. I'm still not sure if it's going to be the only 3 planes, or if there's just going to be a spotlight on 3 planes, and then we might cameo a few others, like March of the Machine. Either way, MagicCon Vegas starts October 25th, where we'll almost certainly learn more. So, we shouldn't have to wait long to find out, or at least get a few more clues to narrow down. My top picks, Vryn, Kylum, Ikoria. My backup picks, Xerix, Kaldheim, Strixhaven. Those are the ones we're looking at. I don't know exactly what combination. If any of those 6 make an appearance, I'm gonna be happy, but I'm hoping I get 3 for 3. Regardless, I've been Darcy Bits. I'm excited for the Death Race, and I guess I'll see you next week for whatever I put out then. I should have made a cycling motorcyclist, though. That would have been a good example.